Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to our Facebook Live. We're here again Wednesday. We're going to be celebrating. We're going to be talking about wealth and real estate. As I once always say, the Calvary is not coming, the creek is rose, and the levee has given way. It's up to us to save us. We're going to have a great show tonight with everything that's going on in our economy. People are saying, hey, what do I do with my money? Is this economy inflation is high. We're at war. The COVID stuff is still going on. What do I do? How do I get out of this rat race? And what do I need to do personally to help myself? So tonight, with everything that's going on around us, trying to be socially conscious, tonight we're going to talk about wealth, money, and real estate. And tonight I got two great guests on the line. We have Arleta Webster and we have Paula Properties. She's going to come on at a later time. And we're just going to talk about and have some hard conversations about real estate and how we can create wealth through real estate. There's people out here that's making money in this down economy. So it's no longer acceptable in our community for us to say, hey, we don't have access. We're going to show you tonight how you can get access, how you can get on top, how you can make money off of this bad economy, and how you can create wealth for you and your family during this time. And it's very simple. All you got to do is follow some of the tools that we're going to give you. We have a great panel tonight. As I was talking to Arleta, she's a licensed realtor here in the city of Indianapolis, and she's been doing this for a long time. And she's given me some good insight about what we can do and what the economy is doing and how we can create wealth in our community. So we don't have to go outside. Once again, I always say it's time for you to bet on yourself. The Calvary is not coming. The creek is rose and the levee is giving way. Don't believe what everybody is saying. Don't invest. Don't go out and buy a house. Don't do these things. Sit on your hand and hope and pray that everything's going to turn out all right. This is the time where you can bet on yourself. Start right where you're at, and we're going to give you some tools tonight. Without any further ado, we're going to bring on Arleta Webster. She's a real estate agent at Tucker. She's dominant in the community. She kills it every single month. We're going to bring her on. She's going to educate us about real estate and wealth and money. And so without any further ado, Arleta, how you doing?
Hi. Hey, Cepeda. Thanks for having me on your show today.
All righty. All right. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Arleta.
Well, I'm a realtor with FC Tucker. Currently, I'm at the Meridian North location. And overall, the market itself is doing great. Some realtors say sales are down, but actually sales are up. I'm that type of realtor that's going to be there through the whole process. So, you have some realtors that, will pick and choose which clients they would like to see. I pick all clients. So, whether you're looking for a house that's $70,000 range or you're going all the way up to $1 million range, I'm about there for all clients across. So overall, been very successful thus far with FC Tucker. And I'm always looking for new clients. So, if anybody needs some help, I'm there to help them along the way.
So what we're going to do is we're going to put Arleta's number down here on the bottom, her and Paula Stroud. They're both at FC Tucker. Paula's going to be joining us a little bit later. So what we're going to do is talk about real estate, as once again, we don't turn down people, right? We help people figure it out, because every time we turn down somebody, that's an opportunity lost. So with that being said, if you are thought that you couldn't qualify, give Arleta a call. Give me a call. We can help you get pre-qualified. That brings us to the first question, Arleta. What are some of the things that we need to do in order to see you and for you to show them a house with this hot market that we're in?
Okay, so the very first step is kind of know what you want and where you want to be. So a lot of situations is some people are already there in an apartment situation, or some may have a house currently. So if you have a house currently, we need to make sure you have a plan, how you're going to sell your house, or if you even have an apartment, when are you ready to move? When's your lease up? That's the first key. The second key is also make sure your credit's in check. They're basically see what your credit score is. If you know what your credit score is, if it's not, there's some things you need to work on. Actually, you can actually pull your credit up for free. You can go to annualcreditreport.com and you can actually pull it up and look at your credits. You kind of know where you're at with your credit wise. And usually it's kind of if you're going for conventional or you're going for FHA, but either or definitely can help you along the way. There's a lot of programs out there also that we can help you with. And a lot of times, clients can get a house with basically nothing but closing costs. So they have down payment assistance programs for first-time home buyers. A lot of that's out there currently on the market, and there's a lot of different choices that we can provide to help you along the way to get you, to the home that's your dream. Everybody deserves a home, So you have some people that basically feel like I can't get a home, I can't afford a home. You always can afford a home. Everybody can afford a home. If you can afford apartment rent, why pay somebody else's rent? That's basically what you're doing with somebody paying somebody else's rent. Renting a house, rent an apartment, why not build your own wealth? So overall, that's the first step, is just knowing where you're going to go and what you're going to do to get there. And then the next step is once your credit's okay, or if it needs to be worked on, there's credit counseling and that's out there that can help you along the way to get your credit to where it needs to be. Most people need to have usually between a 600 to 700 credit score roughly, but 620 is kind of the ideal where we want to be. But you can't really look at Credit Karma and all that type of stuff, but that's really never accurate. You want to pull your credit, and then you can have a licensed real estate mortgage company to pull your credit. So that's kind of where we want to go with that. And there's annualcreditreport.com. That's the way you can pull it up, and that's a free service. It does not hurt your credit when you pull it up from annualcreditreport.com, as long as you pull it yourself. So it doesn't affect your credit score at all. And actually, since COVID, you can pull up your credit report actually once a week for free because of COVID. So annualcreditreport.com is a site you should go to kind of see what's on your credit. And lots of times, there may be some stuff on your credit, and you might not even need to pay it off. So again, the next step is to actually seek a mortgage company to help you along the way. That's the next step, because sometimes hospital bills and stuff like that, they don't really even look at that. They'll let that go sometimes. It's kind of how the credit is on different creditors and what you need to get your credit to a point. And then after that, the next step, after you get your credit, you get pre-approved, you get where you need to be, then it's time to look for a home. So that's kind of where we step in as real estate agents. Paula and I, and that's Paula on the line now.
Hey, Paula.
Paula and I step in. And when you get your credit where it needs to be, that's kind of where we kind of ready to take you around and show you houses, and then get your dream house if you can afford it, and call you want to check, come in a little bit with there. So after you take them to their house, what's the next step?
So after they want to do that, the biggest thing is, I tell everybody, it's like when you go to the grocery store, the worst thing to do is to go to the grocery store hungry. There's so many beautiful properties out there. Make sure you have specifics. And if you're a couple or you're purchasing a house with someone else, I always tell everyone, pick your top three, your top three must-haves. Some people it may be a fenced-in backyard. Some people it might be a fireplace or even a two-car garage. But whatever those are, and then we work from that list. The other thing is, if you have your family status may do something. Someone may want to be around parks or dog parks, or someone may want to be in a certain township or want to have more land or more spacing between those houses. Those things are really crucial too in allowing your real estate agent to be able to best provide you with a list. And then at that point, once we know what you want, we'll set up a search for you, and we can set you up in our systems, and you will consistently get the houses once they become available in the market. And from there, we can schedule to show those houses to our clients.
Perfect. Yeah. And so basically, after we show the house to our clients and they find a house, we put in an offer for that house. And there's different tactics. Like this market right now is really crazy. I'll be honest with you. Last year, some people may put a couple offers in before they got the house they wanted. Because it was a bidding war at one time, but it's getting better. The inventory is getting more and more inventory every day. But you put an offer in for the house, and then once the offer is put in the house, either you get it accepted or rejected. If not, we got to go back to the drawing board again. But once we find that perfect house for you, then we set up a closing, and then you do our inspection. And then, unless you waive the inspection, but more likely we'll do an inspection. Then you get appraisal, and then it's time to go to closing. So usually 30 days from when your offer is accepted is typically when the house is actually yours. Anything you want to add to that, Paula?
Well, there's a team of people that really help you get into home ownership. And you touched on that earlier. Besides your realtor, you'll be working closely with your lender. You'll also be working closely with inspectors, and the lender will work with the appraiser. There's a lot of people on the team. There's also a title company. And so all of these elements work together to really get you into your new home. And
Okay.
with that in mind, remember there are steps that need to be taken in the right order. And once you take those steps, yeah, it's home sweet home.
Okay. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that, me being a mortgage broker, you guys being realtors, we want to make sure that our audience understand that we work hand in hand. A lot of times we have realtors and our mortgage brokers, they end up fighting one another, and that makes for an unhappy customer.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But what we try to do is make sure that everybody is working together so that the customer can have the best product possible. Now, let me ask you guys some real estate questions. Do you guys think that wealth and real estate go to hand in hand?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Well, the
Um,
reason why I asked that question is because a lot of times, well, let me take out some time to introduce Paula. Paula Stout is partners with Alita at FC Tucker. They're the two top bomb producers at FC Tucker. And so when we're calling both of those, their numbers is down there on our scrolling down there on the bottom of our page. Call them up if you are looking to purchase a home and you need to be hand walked through. Please reach out to our leader or Paula so that they can hand walk you through. I will make sure that you get your pre-approval letter. Come to me. We'll make sure that we get that done for you, but call them. You cannot go to them unless you have an approval letter, okay? Not a pre-approval, an approval. What's the difference between the two? Is a pre-approval is not your income is not verified. It's just based off your credit score.
mhm.
When we give you an approval letter because the market is hot, you're going to have your income approved and your credit approved. And I'm going to give you a detailed list of things that you might need to do to get everything cleaned up. So when they show you a house and they give you that approval, you can stand on, hey, this is going to be a good deal. So Paula works at FC Tucker. Kind of let us know a little bit about yourself, Paula, before you answer that question.
So my name is Paula Stroud, and yes, I am a realtor with FC Tucker. And for me, my dive into real estate and home ownership really came from a different angle. A little backdrop about myself. I went through a really bad divorce a couple of decades ago, and I found myself a single mother who lost her home in the divorce with children, and I basically had lost everything. Um, and with that in mind, just really realizing that I had a conception that home ownership was only for married couples. And I don't know where that came from, but I really decided, like, hey, I want to own a home. I want to have a place that I can call my own. And with that in mind, I really decided to pursue home ownership. And so for me, in real estate, not only do I want to help families, but I really have a super passion for people who felt that they never could own a home. And that was me. I felt like home ownership was something that was far away, that I couldn't be a homeowner.
So you
And
can do the American dream, Paula? You can have the
I
American
did
dream?
I didn't feel like I was supposed to have the American dream. You're absolutely right. I thought it was reserved for the two parent family, the house, the kids, the cars. But as a single mom with, starting from ground zero again, no, I didn't think that. And it was in the bottom of that valley. I was like, that hope began to arise. And I'm like, hey, home ownership is for me. I never want to be in a position where I cannot provide a roof over the head for my children and provide a legacy. So that was really what launched me into
So
getting
you
passionate
knew that.
about home
So
ownership.
Paula, you knew that the cavalry wasn't coming, right? You knew that the cavalry wasn't
Correct.
coming. The creek it rose, the levee is giving
Come
way.
on.
It was up to you to
Exactly.
save you, right?
It was up to me. And I knew zero about home buying and home ownership because I was never taught that. In our family, I was taught a lot about financing, but I was really ignorant and uneducated to the home buying process. So because I was uneducated in the home buying process, I had to learn. And I tell people that because there's no excuse, whether you've been taught or not, you have the responsibility to educate yourself. And so that's one of the things that really, as a realtor, that I try to do is empower my clients through education, because education is power.
Okay, so she covered a whole lot. Thank you, Paula. She covered a whole lot today. Once again, let's dive into this. Is wealth, and I know a lot of times people are on the YouTube videos, they're saying that you can get rich quick by the stock market, invest in the cryptocurrency. But one of the things I'm beginning to realize, there are people in our community that is not investing in the cryptocurrency. They're not investing into the stock market. They don't even speak proper English, and they are becoming homeowners, right? Talk to us a little bit about wealth and home ownership. When you became a homeowner, did that wealth factor change? Are you guys seeing a difference when a person owns a home compared to when they don't own a home?
Definitely.
Absolutely. Hmm.
So we'll start with Arlita, and then we'll end it with Paula.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about that. When you're thinking about the wealth perspective of it, when you buy a home, just think about a car, for instance. You go buy a car, you think a car, oh, this is this nice car, this brand new car, $60,000. Well, come 10 years later, that
Baby.
$60,000 car is worth nothing, you know. But that home you bought is building equity up. You can go buy a home, you can go buy a boat, you can go buy whatever you want, but that does not build wealth. That basically, depreciates, no appreciation there whatsoever. A lot of people who bought homes 5 years ago, 10 years ago, they're worth double now. So it's definitely going to build wealth. Your home, you're going to save overall. You're not going to put all the money into if you just throw it at a black wall, or which one it's an open space when you're renting out someone's house, or you're paying rent at an apartment. So you're definitely going to build wealth there. You're building equity up. So why pay someone else's rent? That's how you have to look at it. Also, with that being said, think about all the people who are millionaires. I mean, I could use. I'm not a big Trump supporter, but Trump definitely was one that really was into wealth. He had a lot of properties he owned and establishments he owned. I also like a guy called Dave Ramsey. And Dave Ramsey's a big fan of mine. It's also on people how they get out of debt and stuff like that. But Dave, his wealth came from real estate. A lot of people wealth comes from real estate. It generates from real estate, whether they're in their home or they're renting out the home. That's why whoever you're renting your home from or buying or renting that home from, they're wealthy overall, because wealth comes from real estate. It's about the only thing in this market that actually appreciates over time versus depreciate like normal things like cars and boats and clothes and other hobbies we may have to spend our money on.
Wow.
Think
So once again, being in the business for over 25 years myself, I've seen it. I'm under the impression. I'm under the impression that if you don't own real estate, then I doubt very seriously if you got a lot of money, because real estate is the sisterhood or the mother to money.
correct.
A lot of people make their wealth, and I know we look at the Jay-Z's of the world and the Kanye West's of the world, but the people who they got their wealth from, right? The Kim Kardashians, they all own real estate, and that's something that's not talked about in our community. In order for you to own real estate, you gotta have credit. So that's the next piece we're going to talk about the second half. But I wanted to give Paula, what is your take on it? Do you see the exact same thing?
When you roll back at the layers of history from the beginning of time, even the development of our country as Americans, it was a fight for land. The fight of the people who had already existed. It was a fight for land because everyone knows that land is powerful. Land has something to do with not just the soil, not just a house, but what it does is it validates that you live there, that you own that. And not only that, but it is something now that generations that come after you now can tap into that. They can have that. When you look at families for generations that have owned farms or, houses and things like that, those items stay in that family. And even when they choose to sell it off, as Erlita was saying, now you have equity in that. That's an asset. So now you're able to roll that funding into the next generation. And so even for me being a realtor, one of the things that's really huge for me is even breaking generational curses in my family. And my goal is to make sure that I leave an acre of land for each one of my nephews. I have grandbabies and children too, but even outside of that, an acre of land for each one of them, and to make sure that it stays in the family trust and that they'll always be able to do something on it, whether it's their business or build a home, because land is power. So I
Did y'all
completely
just catch
agree.
what she said? So there's no reason that see this is why I'm stopping right here. She said that one of the things that we can do that's within our ability is to leave something for our children and our children's children. And I thank her for saying that she's not only doing it for her kids, but she's doing it for her nieces and nephews. And so when you talk about generational wealth, we're talking about leaving an inheritance for the next generation. And so with that being said, this is how we can build wealth. There's some studies out here that I'm going to hopefully show. I'm going to add it to the show, add to the stream. Yes. Okay, perfect. So one of the things that we learned from generational wealth is, every 3 years, the Federal Reserve comes out with numbers. And these are typical homeowners' net worth. And we're talking about what your value is. We complain about our school systems. We complain about our stores. We complain that there's liquor stores on every corner. Well, one way we can get over that is by us having the ability to pay taxes, right? Mm-hmm. So we're talking about wealth. So here we see that the typical homeowner's net worth is $231,000, while the renters was $5,200. So a slight decrease from $5,500 in 2013. So what is that saying? This is from the Wall Street Journal. Okay, that says that if you own a home, right? If you bought the house for that traditional house goes for $100,000, right? You're going to have a 15-year mortgage. Now you have $100,000 worth of asset compared to if you're a renter, you don't have an asset. You're building an asset for somebody else, right? So this is what Elita was saying. She said, once you become a homeowner, you start to create wealth for you and your family and the people around you. Right? So when you're not a homeowner, then this is where the generational curse, what Paula was talking about, to where you're going to be in poverty. You're going to always be robbing Peter to pay Paul. You're never going to get ahead. You're always going to be complaining. So we can break that. We're not criticizing you, but we want to give you the tools tonight in order to change the way that you're doing. I thank you, Paula, for being so honest, because Paula said that she was a single mom. She lost everything she had, and she had to start all over. I always tell people, it's not embarrassing to talk about finance. It's embarrassing to be quiet and don't get the help that you need. Okay? Yeah. We're going to be doing some things here at MA&D Capital Investment Group. We're going to create a 700 club to where it's going to be a platform. You can have a 400 score, and we're going to help you get to a 700 within a year, and we're going to do something real nice. But tonight, what we want to do, here we see that there's $231,000, okay, that you can have, that you can leave to your family, compared to you owing money if you are a renter. It's like me and Paula was talking earlier. Me and Alita was talking earlier. You're going to have to live someplace. Okay. So why not bet on yourself and put yourself in a position so that you can own a home, so that you can create wealth for you and your family. Paula, did you want to, or Alita, did you guys
You
want to
know,
add to that?
I want to piggyback on that and segue, because one of the other things we talked about, and you were asking us our thoughts, and I was sharing with you, you really have to change the mindset, because the knowledge and the information is accessible to us. All of us can pick up any phone, any device these days. We can ask Alexa, Google, Siri, and they're going to tell us what we need. We can watch TikTok, we can watch YouTube, we can find out a little something about everything. But we have to change our mindset. And that was one of the things that happened to me. I didn't know that I had a mindset that I was thinking home, and it wasn't something that someone had told me. It wasn't something I'd never heard, but I just felt like in order to own a home, I need to be married and I need to have a husband. And I don't know where that came from. It was just there. And until I changed that mindset, did I ever begin to launch into my own personal home ownership. And this is what I need to say today. Home ownership is not just let me get the home. And I think Erlita can piggyback off of this. It's not just let me do what it takes to get into the home. Let me deal with the mindsets and the things that kept me from home ownership, because if not, they'll creep back in once you own a home. And that same home that you worked for so hard to gain, you can still lose it because you have some old habits and some old mindsets. So part of building generational worth is just not the actions that you do, it's the thoughts that you produce in your mind that help get you to your destination.
Wow. So, Lita, you want to piggyback off of that?
Yeah, adding to that, let's just talk a little bit about where the generational curse itself. Some people, that's all they know. My mom lived in an apartment, my grandma lived in an apartment, my mom rented a house, she never owned a house. I'll never own a house, and wherever you're at, you can make $30,000 a year nowadays to get you a house. It might not be your dream house, but it's a starting point. Everybody has to start somewhere. That $30,000 can probably at least get you a $70,000 house, $80,000 house. It's not going to be the best house, but guess what? It's your house. You have to make your house your home, and then you can move your way on up. That $30,000 house, come 5, 10 years later, you could sell it and get you a $150,000 house, and just keep going up until you get to where you want to be in life. But it's never, I have to stay here. My mom never got a house. My grandma never got a house. I'll never have a house. $30,000 a year, that's actually not a lot. That's people who's making about, we range between 14 and 15 and $17 an hour can actually get a house and not have to rent. Just we get your credit where it needs to be, and you can get you a house. I'll never have a house.
Yeah.
Don't think that way. I hate when I hear people say, I can't get a house. I'll never get a house. Why? Because your mom never had a house, your grandmother never had a house, your sisters don't have houses, your cousins don't have. You can get a house. Anybody can get a house if you really want a house, and we can show you how to get there.
Yes. And so what we talk about tonight is Zillow. And so what I got on the screen, it says, what do Americans think about home ownership? We already know that the American dream is to be a homeowner. That's the American dream. That's why people come to America, because they wanted to own a piece of land. Okay. Home ownership is also a place where you can provide a good education for your children. A lot of times we want the schools to raise our children or the streets to raise our children. But here we see, if you own a home, I believe that home ownership and wealth is a direct correlation to the poverty and crime in our communities. Okay. We have more homeowners most of the time. When people own things, they normally take care of what's theirs. They'll abuse what's not theirs. So we got to start owning in our own community. Okay. If we start owning in our own community, then guess what? The values of the houses will go up. And this will be a places where our kids can get education. Your tax dollars goes to your property taxes, goes to the school system, goes to the fire department, goes to the police department, goes to the post office. So all of those things brings people into your community. It's a place where you have a good education. It's a place of safety. Okay. Owning a home provides more space for your family. An apartment, you're cluttered in, you're in one spot, and you got to call somebody to come in and fix. It's just something about having a home to say, hey, this is mine. It gives you that sense of pride to say, this is mine. I know when me and my wife, We built our first house from ground up. That was our first chance to build a house, and we struck it. And to this very day, I drive by that house and I say, that was a house that I built. That was the house that I built. That's where I started,
Yeah.
where my kids were at. Owning a home provides control over your own living space. I don't have to worry about turning down my music. I can play my music as loud as I want. There's something about that. And this is what Zillow is saying. It says home ownership is a good way to build wealth to pass to your family. If you look at the Rockefellers or the Kennedys or the Kardashians or Jay-Z or a lot of the people who have wealth, they don't talk about, in the African-American community, they don't talk about home ownership. Now it's popular because everybody's flipping homes and things of that nature. But for so long, we was considered on the outside. And one of the reasons why we were considered on the outside is because of credit. I believe that they didn't want us to become educated in reference to our credit. And today, being in the mortgage industry, I see that the interest rates are at an all-time low. They've never been this low. So home ownership, even though the housing market is booming right now, and you're going to pay a little bit higher, but guess what? That money that you're getting for the house is still cheaper than renting. So once again, Alita and Paula, you're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth. Not just me here talking tonight. Here, I often tell you, the cavalry is not coming. The creek is rose, the levee is giving way. It's up to us to save us. If you are a single mom, don't let that be the reason why you don't go buy a home. So what does that mean if you're a single parent, a single mom, or a single father? Doesn't matter. Whatever your income is, you multiply it by 0.45. That's how much house you can afford, your monthly payments. If you got a 580 to a 600 to a 650 score, you can get into a home. Okay? Give us a call. We can help you out. But you have to start somewhere. Now, like Lita said, you might not be able to get your dream home, okay? But you can go out and buy a home, okay? And get started to get your dream home, okay? You might have to go buy a house, what we call fixer-upper, where you got to go and do a little bit of cosmetic work on the home, but it's your home. It's the way you want it. Mm-hmm. Then you can start to graduate to getting the house that you want. Your kids will respect you when they come home and know that they done got a foreclosed sign on their home or eviction notice on your home. When you are a homeowner, it takes a year for them to get you out of your home almost. Okay. If you're a renter, you got 2 weeks. The end of the month, it's a rat race. You got to figure it out. But if you're a homeowner, you're giving yourself a little bit more time to get it corrected. That's why when during this downtime in the economy, the people who have done right by their home, they're not out there on the street. They are saying, okay, now things have turned around. I've been out of work for 2 years. I've missed my payments. But guess what? I still own my home. I'm still in my home. There's different things you can do, bankruptcy, different things that you can do to stop the foreclosure in order to stay in your home. Keep your equity. Because guess what? Housing prices, am I correct, ladies? The housing prices has not went down.
No, they've only gone up.
No,
they're only going up.
I don't know if you guys can see behind me. It should look like a construction zone, but I'm actually sitting in the first house that I bought myself as a single mom. And even in this economy right now, one of the things that my husband and I have discussed is we're semi-empty nesters and we only have one child left. And the house that we currently own, and we have multiple properties, but the house that we're currently in, it's just too big for us. But even in this market, we're like, hey, we can take your first house. We can flip it, make it the way we want it. So we're doing some major upgrades in it. So I'm in this construction zone. So if you hear my husband in the background, he's doing what he's so talented to do. But what we were able to do now is, because a lot of people in our leader, I think we've talked about this before, is when people are ready to sell, they're like, well, I don't have anywhere to go. But when you have multiple properties, you have options. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't ever have to be in a position where we don't have. So now we're looking at, hey, we can fix up, this property. make it the way we want it with our little special touches, take the other one, sell it, and and here we go. We have this flow of money that's consistently coming in, and we're not lost without anything. So home ownership is power. It definitely is.
So once again, did y'all catch what she said? Started off as a single mom. Okay. She lost everything she had, because I'm not giving you any excuses now. Single mom, single dad. Okay. You started off with everything you had. She didn't even have a good job, because now she's doing real estate. And guess what she did? She bet on herself. And guess what? She got her first home without her husband. And now they're working on the house that they got, building generational wealth. And she has the option to say, hey, I want to live here. I'm in too big of a home. How long did it take you, Paula, to get to this point?
Which point? When initially to buy the first home by myself, or to get to this point where we're thinking about selling the bigger house?
Selling the bigger house.
Well, we've got two children that are already gone away. One was in college, and then we had two leave at the same time. And so all of a sudden we went from 6, 7 people in our house to 3. So the size of our home just, and I looked at my husband one day and I'm like, you going to clean it up? Because I'm not the maid. And and so we laughed about it, but I'm like, in all honesty, it's just too much house for us. We love our home. We love the memories that we've made, but it's too much house and we don't need it. And the property that we have, our equity has tripled. And so we'll be in a really nice position, to be able to sell it. And we're okay with that.
So let's talk about that. Elita, is the prices of homes tripling and doubling like everybody is saying it is? Is it really that good in the housing market?
Yes. When I just listed a house last week, about a week and a half ago, and it was on the market 2 days, but he's making double off of what he paid for his house. And that's a normal trend right now. Whatever you pay for that house, you're at least making double. And I had sold another house to my niece in November. And this is really crazy. It kind of really shocked me. But the people who moved in the house before her was only there for 8 months, and they decided they was too far away from their family. So they decided to move back. But they made off of that house at least $80,000 just because in that little time frame, the market went up. So it's constantly going up. I'm be honest with you, it's constantly going up. If you have a house to sell, we can get you top dollar for your house, but then you're going to have to probably put some of that equity to another house because house values are going up. They're not going to probably go down. That's what all the forecast is telling us. They're not going to go down. They will stay as is or continue to rise slightly, but they're not going down. So we're kind of where we're at as far as that, but you will get double more than likely for the house you've been in. In a lot of cases, the house is less than 2 years, you're getting double in today's economy.
So y'all catch what we're saying? You can't get onto the stock market. So all those people that are saying cryptocurrency and stock, I'm okay with that. But they're telling us, the professionals are telling us, the ones who are betting on themselves, they're buying real estate in our community and the values are doubling. Okay? They're buying real estate in our community and the values are doubling. There's money in our community. It's not in the outskirts no more. It's in the inner city. All the redevelopment, if you throw a tennis ball 15 times, you're going to hit something that's redeveloping. Okay? So make sure as you start to invest your money and your time, you want to make sure that you get in contact with realtors that are like Paula and Arlita that have their ear to the ground that is talking about exactly what's going on in our community. We're talking about wealth. Okay. And a lot of people, we're talking about wealth and we're talking about what does wealth mean? Okay. Here we go. Give you some more statistics. Is estimated that only 6% of Black owners refinance and compared to 12% of white borrowers. Okay. What does that mean? That means that we did not take the opportunity to refinance and get the equity out of our properties because the value, as our realtors have told us, have doubled. You know, you don't necessarily have to sell your house because you double. You can refinance your house, okay, and pull the cash out and don't have to pay taxes on it, right? Because it's your property. You don't have to pay taxes on it until you sell it, right? So that is a tool that you can use, okay? More broadly, that means that an estimated 5.3 billion of savings for households that just refinanced during the past 10 months. Like our leader was saying, it's been less than 2 years since we've been out of this pandemic. People are making money during this pandemic, and they're not buying stock. They're not getting into the crypto market.
Yes.
$5.3 billion. It was from people that refinanced. What does that mean? That means that you had a higher interest rate, you got a lower interest rate, and you pull cash out to reinvest or to live off of while this pandemic was happening. As we know, gas prices are at $4 and some change right now. The people who are successful, the people who own real estate, guess what? Their credit score is a lot better than a renter because they have the mortgage on their credit report. Guess what happens? They're getting a gas card. They're getting cash back off of their gas card. Yes, they are. You know, they got the American Express. American Express is at 8%. If you don't own a home, you're probably paying 21% for your Discover card. Okay, that's the difference. That's how you create generational wealth. You're gonna, like Alita said, you're gonna pay rent someplace. Why not bet on yourself? Get yourself into a situation where you can be successful. The third thing, it says the median white household has 10 times the net worth of the black household, 171,000 to 17,000. $171,000 compared to 17,000. So what does that mean? When we pass away, we got to go get a GoFundMe, right? When other people pass away, you know what they're doing? They're not celebrating, but they have something to leave to their children and their children's children. They have $171,000 that they can leave to their children. If you have a life insurance policy, it's going to pay off that house. You're going to own that house free and clear. Like our leader was saying, it's double the amount that what you guys paid for. So if you bought it for $100,000, now you got $200,000. Name somebody in your community that's living off of $200,000 cash that's in their community. While black households have about 3% of all household wealth in America, the 40th richest American billionaires have more than all 10 million black Americans households. What does that mean? They're making money off of this low interest rate that we have. There's money being made during this downturn. Don't let the recession make you afraid to invest into yourself. This is what we're telling you. Invest into real estate. If you're African American, invest into real estate. That is the surefire way to get out of the rat race. Sacrifice, quit going to get your nails done, quit going to get your hair cut, quit going to play basketball, quit get off the games, get serious for the next 10 years, and you will see yourself doing a whole lot better. Would you guys have anything to say about those numbers, Alita and Paula?
I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I'm just thinking.
Well, you know, those numbers. Go ahead, Arlene.
I haven't said the time is now. That's all I have to say, really. Just looking at you talking about what people doing with their money. This is tax time, for instance. People have a little extra money, but guess what they're doing with it? Doing weird stuff, or going to get another car that their car broke down, and from a buy here, pay here a lot of something stupid, and then they lose their car 6 months later. You know, little silly stuff, or they go get some type of surgery or something with their car. Why not invest into a house? I mean, some of these single moms right now are getting, you know, tax returns range between $5,000 to $10,000. You can get you a house, something you can call your own, versus paying $1,100 or $1,200 a month, rent an apartment that you live in a shell, and your kids can't run around freely. You don't have a backyard for them to play in. You know, it is what it is. But guess what? You can get a house if you really want a house. Anybody who wants a house can get a house. I mean, that's all it was said and done. I mean, Cepeda, you're going over the numbers and statistics. It doesn't shock me, at all, because this is kind of what we've seen growing up, Like I told you before, we always thought people couldn't get a house. I mean, I bought my first house when I was 19 years old. So I definitely know what it is to buy a house.
That's it.
So, hey, I've been
and,
there.
And
First house at 19, so I guess real estate came naturally to me. So yeah.
Yeah. So even when the ones that have degrees, and he says they own their own home, they have high paying jobs and engage in their behaviors associated with asset building. Their wealth is typically much lower than their counterparts. So once again, even if you own a home, like what Paula was saying, don't stop there. Help somebody else get into a home. Help somebody else get some good credit. Invest into somebody else, because guess what? You're going to win. You can't lose. And I just closed on a house not too long ago. And one of the things that was alarming to me is this couple had his uncle, his brother, and his nephew and his son invest into this deal, and they all walked out with money. And I think Paula was talking about, Paula, can I share the story with you when you say, was it you or a leader who I was talking to, and you were saying that when you don't bring your daughters and your children to the closing, that
it was me.
That was you, Paula?
Because
kind of repeat to me what you just said.
Here we start in. Because education is powerful. And so who teaches us about manners? Who teaches us about, being women and gentlemen in relationships? It's our parents. It's those role models. And so who teaches us about finances? It's our parents. And I was just saying systemically that there are the Caucasian in our country, they bring their children to closing. They include them in the entire buying process, from the consultation to going to visit the houses all the way to the end. And so that child is exposed to that entire transaction. It's nothing that's foreign to them. However, I see it in the minority cultures that you don't see that same thing. The children are always somewhere back in a room, or go play, or go be on your video game, not go and be a part of this. Because when that child becomes an adult and they themselves will sit at a closing table, they shouldn't know what to do. It should be like, oh, I've been here before. My parents taught me this. No different than a father teaches his son how to tie a tie. He should teach his son how to buy property and to buy a home. And moms can do the same. I'm that mom. I'm teaching that, to my children, to my grandchildren, and even to my nephews and my nieces about that. Because again, it is such a powerful thing. So powerful.
So we almost need to, once again, the cavalry's not coming. The creek has rose and the levee has given way. It's up to us to save us. And one of the things that why I'm creating the 700 Club is because I almost wanted to be a rites of passage to where you own a home or you experience a closing. Okay? So that is something, Arlita, I think that we as a people can do. We can encourage, like you said, at 19 years old. Arlita, what gave you that mindset that you wanted to own a home at 19 years old instead of going to the latest club?
Well, I moved out when I was 18, so I had an apartment. And I mean, I felt like this little apartment, I'm just giving them all this money, even at a young age, I was just giving money to an apartment, and it wasn't mine, so I wanted my own home. And that was my dream. I'm like, okay, I want to give me a house. And my very first house, it was a small house. It wasn't nothing, but it was about 1,100 square feet, maybe between 1,000 and 1,100 square feet. It was $100,000 house, but it was mine. It didn't matter. It was mine, And I actually had kids, raised my kids in that house, but then I knew when it was time to go. I took the equity and I bought another house, a house 3 times as much, so you have to start from somewhere. Like I was telling you earlier, it may not be where you want to be from the beginning, but it's a starting point. You can make $30,000 a year and get a house. That's a lot. You got to start from somewhere. So You have to have that mindset, as Paul was mentioning, that I can do this. If you think you can do it, you can, but you have to believe in yourself that you can do it. A house is no more than an apartment, but it's yours. You're paying your mortgage, but it's
Yeah.
you building equity into your mortgage, not paying someone else's mortgage.
Yeah.
And lots of times these apartments nowadays are $1,100-$1,200 a month. They're not worth it. You can get
Oh my gosh.
about a couple $100 less, about $900 what you're paying for $1,100-$1,200 apartment. You can get
So,
the same thing in more space, and then it's yours.
yeah, because one of the things that I taught my daughters is this. We bought a house for $10,000. Well, $14,000. We went in, rehabbed it. Now my daughter moved in. She don't have to pay rent. That's generational wealth. That $1,000 that you're going to pay anyway, that's $12,000 a year that you don't have to pay, and then you got to pay interest on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you build generational wealth. Even if you had a mortgage of $1,000 in 12 years or 13 years or 15 years, you can have that house paid off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in today's economy, now you got $100,000, $200,000 that you can have, and the average person doesn't make $200,000 in a year. That takes them 3 years to make 3 to 4 years to make $200,000, and that's $25,000, $30,000 a year, right? 4 years and 15 years, you can own that. That is the best retirement that you can have. That is the best retirement that you can have, and your value is only going to go up. Unlike if you're in the stock market, okay? And I'm going to keep drilling that into our heads, cryptocurrency, and I understand that, and I'm not knocking that. But too many times I've seen people that don't have a clue of what the stock market is, don't have a clue of what cryptocurrency is, and they own at least $500,000 in real estate, and they are living rent free. And their kids are well off, better off. If something happened to them today, they do not have to worry about it. And they're not investing into all of these fancy financial products. That's what I call them, fancy financial products. We need to get back to the nuts, the meat and potatoes, create generational wealth and money for ourselves. We got the PPP loans. Most of the people that got those PPP loans that didn't look like us, guess what they did? They made their mortgage payment. We went to the clubs. We went and bought clothes. We did everything but what we were supposed to do, and then we didn't even have the businesses that we were supposed to have. So once again, real estate wealth is where the money is at.
It's so true.
Wealth is where the money is at.
It's so true, Cepeda. That's so true.
Wars are fought. We're at war right now, right? And what is it? What are we fighting over? We're fighting over land. They're fighting over land, and we see the effects of them fighting over land. Gas prices are skyrocketing. Why? Because of land. If you own the land, then you can dictate your outcome. If you own the land, you can dictate your outcome. If we own that land over there, gas prices wouldn't be at $4. It'd be like $2 and some change. But real estate is the best tool that we can do to create wealth. Now, because we're going to take some questions, I'm going to do some lightning questions because we've got about 7 minutes. Arlita or
Cepeda, while we're taking questions, I just wanted to say real quick, you said something, and Arlita, you said the time is now. And when you talked about building your first house from the ground up, Cepeda, and me talking about purchasing my first home as a single mom, the beauty of that is each one of us overcame a fear. At 19 years old, you didn't know what home ownership looked like. Building a house for the first time from the ground up, you didn't know what home ownership looked like. But we stepped out of fear. And we know the opposite of fear is faith. And so I just really want to encourage that listener that's out there right now that's like, hey, I want to do it. I just don't know how. Guess what? We didn't know how to either. But we stepped out on faith. And that's why we can sit here today in this panel and share with you, you can do the same because the time is now.
Yes. You can do it. Like I said, the Calvary's not coming. The creek is rose. The levee is giving way. It's up to you. You have the tools to help yourself. You have our leader. She's going to help you get to where you want to be. So is Paula. Call me. If you need the credit, we can help you. I can help you. We need to be able to stand on what we're doing in our own community. We don't have to go outside. You got people in your community that look like you. You might run into our leader at the store, or you might run into Paula at the hair salon. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
They look and act like you. You don't have to be ashamed. And I think that when you're talking about wealth, money, in real estate, it makes you proud when you drive up to your home, like Lita was saying, and it's yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's not somebody else's.
Mm-hmm.
It's yours. You turn on the lights. You don't have to worry about nobody coming to your house and taking nothing away from you. It's yours. And so the lightning round of questions are getting ready to come. I have a couple of them here. What does a hot market mean? I'll let the real estate agent to ask that question. What is a hot market?
You want to answer that, Paula? You want me to answer it? A hot market
You
is
can
right
take it,
now.
Alita.
Yeah, hot markets right now. Houses are going quick. I mean,
how long are they staying on the market?
A year ago, let's say about 3 years. It's been doing that for about 2 years now. Let's say about 3 years ago, a house might stay on the market. An average home would stay on the market for about 2 or 3 weeks before you actually got offers and accepted an average home. Now, homes are not staying. I mean, if a house is still on the market after like 3 or 4 days, a week, something's wrong with that house. Either it's overpriced or it has too many defects. But overall, a home is hot, it's going, it's like pancakes, flapjacks, whatever you want to call them. So you put on the market, it's gone in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
It doesn't. So it's hot.
Yeah, and
it's time.
it's very hot. And
Part
of that.
Let me finish this one little thing, Paula. So when you see a house that you like, you got to tell your realtor about it immediately. Guess what? The house might not be there in 3 days, 2 days. It's going. It's hot. The market's hot. So Paula, you can add to that.
No, it's hot like a griddle, and people are like, why is the market so hot? And it has to do with supply and demand. The inventory is low. And so, because of COVID, building supplies, laborers, we see it. I don't think there's a place you can drive down the street and not see hiring. And so you have to factor all those things in. And so it's just that the supply is low. And so we know when the supply is low. I mean, remember 2020, COVID and toilet paper, the supply was low. So, when you saw that toilet paper on the shelf, you better grab it. It's the same with the housing market right now.
Wow. So the hot market, how much over should we pay for a house? That's another question.
This is when you're real. Go ahead.
Yeah, Paula.
I was going to say, this is really where you partner with your realtor and your realtor comes into hand. Your realtor is trained, they're professional, like Erlita and myself, and we'll pull the comps for that area. And we're always going to fight for our client to ensure that we protect them even in that process and that we guard them. And so, yes, in this market, you do want to offer over on a property if that property is valued at that. But your realtor is always going to give you their professional opinion. We're going to run comps. We're going to do a market analysis. And we're going to make sure that you are paying for something that the market shows it's valuable, because our job is to help and partner with you for successful home ownership.
Okay. And I think it's a case-by-case basis too, Cepeda, as Paul was mentioning, depending on the area and what other houses are running. So once you run the comps, I mean, I had clients that offer over $10,000, $15,000 for a house, but that's not normal now. Usually normal is maybe about $6,000 to $7,000 more than what the house is. But usually if you offer more than likely your client will get the house. And it used to be where you could ask for, it's so hot right now, you could have asked for closing costs and all this type of stuff. You're not going to get closing costs in today's society. It's not running that way. So there are programs, like I mentioned from the very beginning, that will help with the down payment assistance, help even some with the closing fees. So there's a lot that's out there that's available for a lot of clients that feel like, I can't get a home. You can get a home. Mm-hmm. There's help out there that can help you get a home. With lots of times where you're putting no money down. But usually, like I said before, you may have to give them a little bit more than what they want. And more than likely it's going to appraise at that because the market's hot.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I have a question. They asked, do you guys believe that the market is going to go down with inflation going up?
No. And interest rates going to continue to climb also. We had some analysis given to us recently that the market's it's kind of what it is what it is. Basically, it's not going to go down. So if you paid more for your home within the last couple of years, you will keep your equity in your home. It's not. We don't see the trend of going down. Interest rates are slowly climbing back up. We had a lot of 2% and 3% last year. Now we're in 4%. I think we dropped not too long ago back in the threes, but it's going to continue to climb. That's what all the forecast is telling us. So this time is now to get a house. And if you're not ready yet, let's get you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, being in the mortgage business, being a mortgage broker, mortgage loan officer, the interest rates are, they can't stay at an all-time low forever.
Right.
They have to go up. And even though the interest rates are going up, this is the time. They're still cheaper than 7.99 and 8% and
Correct.
10% than it was about 8 or 9 years ago. So once again, now is the time that you can get into a home. Call us up.
Yeah.
If you score a 600 or better, or if you're close to a 600, give me a call. I can see what I can do to get you in. It's a case by case. But if you got a 620 or higher, we can definitely work with you to get you into an FHA program, right? Like our leader was saying, a lot of realtors, they're pointing you to different people, but you want to make sure that you got a bona fide mortgage broker that understands this market, and they don't want to give you a pre-approval that is not going to hold its weight when you get to the closing, because you're going to lose your earnest money if that happens. Okay. You want to make sure that approval that is solid, is bona fide, is from a mortgage company that is legitimate and that is not based upon your credit. It's based on your income. I've seen it too many times. Well, a lot of my mortgage broker friends or loan officers, if they're dealing with the builder, and the builder sent it to that guy who was a mortgage broker, and guess what happened? I got you done, and then they got to the closing, and then you couldn't perform, and you didn't get your house, or you had to pay more than what you really thought. So make sure that you get a solid mortgage company that's going to be able to do what you want to do. I have a question. Do you guys have a relationship with builders? How does that work? I had a client that said that the builder made him go to his mortgage company, and he did not want to deal with the realtor. How do you guys deal with that? Do you guys have builder relationships?
Oh my gosh. I just made a post on my Instagram at Paula Properties about that. I saved my clients thousands of dollars because my clients took me and included me in the process. Do not go to a new build without a realtor. Just remember, the people working there at the new builds, they represent that builder. They work for that builder. Your realtor works for you. And that is the big difference. Your realtor has a fiduciary responsibility. And I'm telling you, when we look back just close a week and a half ago, my client said we would have come out upside down had we not had you with us in that process. You have to realize your realtor is on your side.
Okay. Let me add to that, Cepeda, also with the new builds. So a lot of times too, people think a new build, I don't need a realtor for that. I already picked a house that I like, what I need them for. The whole idea with a new build, for one, the client, you're not paying us. The company, whoever's building is paying us. Sometimes you have the private builders, they don't want to pay for a realtor, but all the big companies, they pay us. So that's how we get compensated. So we will be there every step of the way for a new build. You basically have to put our name down as for your realtor. The whole buying process, we go and we check on the property just like you check on the property. The whole structure can get built. And when the house is finished, you have an orientation. We walk through that orientation with you and make sure the house is structurally sound and things are where they should be. And if it's not, we're fighting for you there too. We're telling them, well, they got to fix this. You need to fix that. That crack shouldn't be there. And sometimes as homeowners, they just want to take it. We'll just take it. It's okay. Well, no, it needs to be right. So even with the new builders, that's also our job. We do new builds, and you don't pay us. Even when we look for your house, let's kind of flip that around a little bit. You don't pay us when we take you look for a house. It's free. It doesn't cost you a dime. It's free to you for us to look for your house. You don't pay us, but we're buying that house from pays us. So the seller pays us, you don't pay us. So our services are free to take you to go find a home.
And even with the mortgage side, on the mortgage side, don't let a mortgage company charge you guys money before you go to the closing. One, it's illegal. Two, they can't do it. You don't get the mortgage company does not get paid until the deal closes.
Correct.
I personally love to work with realtors that stay in their lane because when you start crossing over into the builder world, it can get very sticky very quick. Okay. And at the end of the
Yeah.
day, you are responsible for that home.
Hmm.
And so just make sure that you hire a legitimate realtor who understands you. Every realtor is different. Okay. And you
Yeah.
got to make one that fits you. Same thing with the mortgage industry. And you got to get a loan officer that understands your needs. Okay. Not what their needs are, what your needs are. And you got to make sure that you are getting the best product possible. Don't be afraid to ask questions and hold them accountable because at the end of when that deal closed, like our leader said, she's going to get paid from the seller. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to get paid from you, doing the mortgage. So there's a lot of things out there. There's a lot of tools out there that you can utilize, but make sure that you stick to your gut. Stick to your gut. Understand that you are the one who's buying that house ultimately. And this is an investment. I often tell my buyers, there's two things that you're going to do. When you're going to have kids, that's an investment, and that's going to last you for the rest of your life. You're going to buy a home, and that's an investment, and that's going to last you for 15 to 30 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you're living to be 100, you're going to have that house for a minute. So make sure that this is supposed to be a good time. Last question. They wanted to know with the market the way that it is, do you think that home ownership is the best way to get generational wealth? I'm gonna answer
Yes.
that question. Yes, yes.
Yes. You know, I just want to say this, Cepeda. In this market, I hear so many people keep saying, well, I'm going to wait till the market calms down. Because, here was the question tonight. Is the market hot? Well, it's so hot. I'm going to wait till it calms down. I want to wait till it calms down. Well, first of all, I like food. If my food is supposed to be hot, I want it to be hot. Don't let whether the market is hot or cold dictate what you need to do. Because in reality, what I always hear people say is 5 years later, they're like, I really should have bought that house back then. Look at how much it's worth. Oh, I should have bought in this community. I had an opportunity to buy and I didn't. And when opportunity knocks, we open up the door. And if you are in a position where you need a home and you need to provide a roof, let's do the math. When you pay rent, you're paying twice as much for that property that you don't own, that you can't write off. There's so many benefits to home ownership. But when you don't own a home, you're subject to what anybody else dictates. And so, yes, that is how you build generational wealth. Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Okay, Alita.
Yes, definitely. So, in order to build wealth, as we discussed earlier, home ownership is the key. I mean, to build that equity up versus paying somebody else's rent that you're getting nowhere with, you're only making them rich. You're not building no equity for yourself. So, within a couple of years, you start building equity. If you need to pull money out of, you have somewhere to pull money out. You can refinance. You can get a HELOC, which is a home equity loan. You can do anything. You're
Yeah.
building your own wealth up into that home. So why just keep throwing money to somebody else's rent? You're making somebody else wealthy, and you can make yourself. So
Okay.
it's yours.
So, and we got the statistics. I gave you some numbers. You can go back and look at this show. I gave you some numbers. Those who are in poverty, those who have high crime rates, those are the areas where people are renting. The people who are owning their homes is not in the suburban areas. People just own their homes in the suburban areas. If we start owning our homes in the inner city, guess what? Crime is going to go down. Our
Oh my
food
God.
will taste better. Our water will be cleaner. Our milk will be cold. Everything will happen for us when we start to own in our own community. We can invest. We'll have, we talk about creating business opportunities. When you have a line of credit that you can use on your home, guess what? You can invest into your own business. We was talking about Paula. We was talking about bring your kids to the closing, get them engaged. Talk to your kids about buying a home when they get ready to go to college because they got to live someplace. All of these things that we can do. We're going to be creating the 700 Club, And the 700 Club is going to be geared towards educating you on credit. We believe that the 700 credit score is a sweet spot to get you out of the generational curse and into prosperity in your own community. If we can create a community of 700s in our community, guess what we'll do? We will be powerful to have businesses come to our community. We can have real estate in our community. We can have commercial buildings in our community. And then we can start to dictate what comes into our community. Then we can be powerful. Closing remarks. Alita, did you have anything else to say?
You know what? Just one little thing I want to add, Tidbit. Some people feel like, some people can't qualify to get an apartment, for instance. Okay, they have a job. They may have made a wrong turn in their life one time or another and have a felony on their records. But guess what? Buying a house doesn't hurt you. So you can have a criminal history, as long as you got a job and you're back on the right track, you can get a house. They don't say you can't get a house because you got a felony when you was 18 years old, or you got into trouble back 10 years ago. That doesn't work for home ownership. So you might can't get that apartment, you might can't get your name on that lease, but guess what? You can get your name on that mortgage. So that is something that's quite different that some people don't know. Think, well, I can't get it. I got a record, I got in trouble. But guess what? If you're back on the right track and you got a job and you have an income to support it, you can also be a homeowner.
Okay, so we know that Paula, she's in the midst of working on a home, and Paula, you're back. Okay, hey Paula, last closing remarks.
So last closing remarks for me would be trust the professionals. I hear a lot of people, I can sell my home by myself. I can go get this new bill by myself. Trust the professionals. When it's time to go get surgery, none of us ever go and do it ourselves. We trust the professional. Trust your realtor. Trust your loan officer. Trust the people that are educated and do this on a daily basis. They'll have your back in this process.
Yep. And so once again, this is an opportunity for you to kind of see what you can do. I've let their names go at the bottom all day. FC Tucker, if you want to contact Paula, it's 317-609-0066, FC Tucker. If you want to contact Arleta Webster at FC Tucker, her number is 317-282-7200. Once again, I will make sure that you can reach out to them if you give me a call. I think one of the things is glaringly clear. Trust your professionals. You have a lot, in any profession, you have your good and your bad. Okay. You have your good loan officers, you have your bad loan officers, you have your good real estate agents, you have your bad real estate agents. And so one of the things I always say is make sure that they stay in their lane. Okay. The real estate agents are direct contact with the seller of the home. They can advise you on the home. Mortgage brokers they can advise you on the payment and the interest rates of your mortgage. We're supposed to work hand in hand with the realtor to make sure that you're getting the best interest rate possible, but you also is getting the maximum amount for your home. And so a mortgage broker cannot tell the seller how much to sell the house for. You'll be surprised on how many times I've heard that. And on the flip side, the real estate agent can't tell you what your interest rate is, and you know how many times that happened too. So just make sure. I always say, when I go get to a barber, I'm getting my hair cut. When I'm going to a restaurant, I'm going to eat some food. When I'm going to get brain surgery, I'm going to get my brain worked on. I don't want my barber working on my brain. He just cuts my hair. I always tell
so true.
I don't want my barber working on my brain, and neither do I want my brain surgeon being my barber. It's going to make me look bad. So just keep those things in mind, and I make light of it, but it's also true. I've seen it a million times to where the real estate agent and the loan officer get out of control, and they don't understand that it's the buyer who's here and the seller who's selling the property. So just make sure that you get people that are qualified to represent you. You're the one who's in control. Okay. If you are looking to buy a house, call those numbers because they can get you in. We're going to do some fun things. We're going to make the process a lot easier. We're going to, the 700 Club, be on the lookout for that. Thank you, Alita, for coming. Thank you, Paula, for coming.
Oh my gosh, what an honor.
Thank
you, Cepeda.
Thank you for having you guys taking out an hour and 15 minutes of your time. I promised you guys an hour. I went over 15 minutes, but I apologize. But I think that this was very needed. I think that our community was blessed by it. If, like I say, the Calvary is not coming, ladies and gentlemen. The creek is rose and the levee is given way. It's up to you to save you. Now you have an access. You have our leader. You have Paula that will fight for you tooth and nail. Okay, we can help you get to where you want to be, and we can get you there. We are one-stop shop, the mortgage company and the real estate company. Understand this. Get your taxes done. Okay, get your taxes done. Get qualified. Get to our leader. Get to Paula. Get that approval letter, and don't be discouraged if you have to spend, go look at a couple of houses and you don't get denied. Don't get discouraged. Keep on pressing, and eventually it'll happen for you. Once again, next week, we're going to be talking about the 700 Club. The Calvary ain't coming. I'm excited because come April 1, we're going to launch the 700 Club. You're going to have all the information next week. We're going to have a seminar in about 2 to 3 weeks. Our leader and Paula, I'm going to twist their arms to make sure that they're there. Okay? So I'm going to twist their arms and make sure that they're there. Paula Alita already said, you're going to have to hit me up the first one. So I told Alita I would get her back. So now is my opportunity. It's my platform. Alita said, hey, I ain't going to come if you ain't going to help me. So here you go, Arlita. This is going to be your first platform. So we're looking forward to have a good time. We're looking forward to helping you. We're looking forward to making you homeowners. We're looking forward for your testimony, you coming back and telling us, hey, I wouldn't have been able to do it without you guys. The Calvary ain't coming. The creek is rose and the levee is giving way. Till next week, where we're going to be rolling out the 700 Club, and I'm going to have a business on here that talks about franchising. It's the number one company in the city. And guess what? They dealing it big time in our community. So next week, we're going to talk about the 700 Club, and we're going to talk about franchising, how you can get to the bag. Always how you can get to the bag. Calvary is not coming. Creek is rose. The levee is giving way. Thanks. You are leader. Thank you, Paula. We'll be seeing you guys later. We'll be seeing you guys again. Once again, keep betting on yourself. Never give up. Never stop betting on yourself. Till next Wednesday, see you. Keep betting on yourself. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Cepeda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cepeda.